saw these couple of cops the other day. I knew that there was something wrong with this town. I knew that there was a problem. But I just didn't know what it was. I intended to find out. And so I decided to go for a bike ride. I wasn't too sure where I was going to go, but I needed to think about things. I needed to make sure that the police weren't in on something altogether. I must admit, I was very frightened and decided to have a small swim. Oh, how I loved to swim. It was beautiful. I felt like a fish. I would just float there and be at one, as if I was a child growing in the womb of my beloved mother. It was magnificent. After a jolly good swim, I decided that I would go and find out the real problem with the police. This woman here, she struck me as suspicious. I had to question her, therefore I decided I would. I approached her subtly. She had no answers. I had to therefore continue my mission. I knew there was something wrong with this town. I just didn't know what it was. I had to concentrate hard. It wouldn't be easy. Luckily my friend Matty Works was close to hand. I decided to follow him and see if he could guide me somewhere safe. By the look on his face he meant business. I was concerned. I beckoned him to the helicopter and see if he would respond. I was most pleased with his response as my body was weak. We flew away into the sunset for another exciting adventure. We flew across the sea. It was a scary time for the both of us, but we knew we could survive. It was only a matter of time before there would be more trouble. Back to the sea, the beautiful place where you could feel at home and safe. But not for long, we had to move on. We had little time before the next problem would soon arise. My only hope was that as a team we could survive. Of course, I knew that things would get rough. I had to expect this. This was all part and parcel of the mission. It would never be safe, but we could survive. The bad guys were close. We knew that we could stop them. All we could do now was just hope that we had everything prepared as could be. Fully planned, fully equipped. The mountains were beautiful this time of year. I would often climb these mountains with my father. Sadly, he passed away. The gorge was hard to see that day. The mist was very thick. Anyway, we decided to land in a very secluded spot. Unfortunately, there were naked people around. This made us very upset. We laid down some suppressive fire. The good news was that we were taking hits well. I decided to bail. Unfortunately, it wasn't a good idea. Luckily my friend had come to help me. He was a magnificent person, and therefore I decided to join him in absolute luxury. We soared into the sky, and it was magnificent. The naked people couldn't hurt me anymore, for I was safe, and I rejoiced in the knowledge of my cousin's exceptional flying. He flew tight and low to the ground as if to suggest an abnormal amount of skill. This did please me very much, and all I could do was just marvel at the magnificent skill and absolute incredible workmanship of a man who had beaten and crafted his skill to a fine art. And thus our adventure continued. And thus our survival continued. As we limped our craft home, we could see the airport in sight. It had been a very tricky day, and we both realised that we'd been very lucky to survive. There had been a few of our friends who didn't make it. All we could do was feel pity for them and feel sadness. In memory, we decided to parachute in, or at least one of us. That day I will never forget. That day we lost many good men, many awesome people. But sometimes life gives you a bad hand and you've just got to deal with it. At least the spawn had survived to tell another tale of joy and adventure, but also of sadness and misery. As I came down that day I realised things would never be the same. I looked for my founding member, the master of skills, and he was always there keeping me safe. Incredible human being, the guy, though I daren't tell him to his face, thus embarrass him. He was a man chiselled from teak. I'd managed to find my friend, top of the perch. He was an incredible guy. Only could be described as probably one of the best on the planet. My dream was to get his attention and get him to fly us to the military base. It wasn't working. I would keep trying. The police had turned nasty. I had to survive and I had to defend myself. By firing in the air I showed that I meant no harm, but they didn't seem to respond, nor did they seem to listen. Therefore I decided that I would acquire one of their vehicles and escape. This in itself was potentially rather dangerous, but danger was something that I thrived on. Driving down the runway I realised I had to be very careful. They were after me, but they had to try harder than that if they wanted to get me. If I could just turn around at the top of the runway, come down and select myself the plane, all would be good. But if the plane wasn't there, I'd accept the helicopter. They were reluctant, and I had to give them their due. They were very, very good, but I felt that I was better, and much better. Therefore I had to give them some discipline, and so I would commandeer the only vehicle that could get me out of here, the most awesome vehicle ever. This incredible machine. I looked at it and studied the structure to make sure it was safe. I was pleased, and I entered the vehicle. Upon starting the vehicle I had some trouble with the coppers. I was soon to realise that this would be something that I could have to survive and to deal with. I took off very smoothly, and I was most pleased. I remember planting that tree there. I would never plant another one. It would always be a thorn in my side. Luckily, my friend had turned up to help me. He was an incredible human being. I admired his machine. It was magnificent, and I wondered where he got it sprayed. Dutifully, I beckoned him to the plane to see if I could get him to help, and I also enjoyed this machine. I decided to place a small token on it. Now I wondered if my friend would join me in the plane. It would be a marvellous thing for him to do so. I stood there apprehensive. I waited. Gave him a salute. He climbed on board. He didn't enter, so I decided to blow the car up instead, which was a bad idea. But then, sometimes in life, Sometimes in life you do get these bad ideas, and you just have to accept the fact that you can't get it wrong all the time. But sometimes you can get it very wrong. And thus I had lost my friend. I hoped and prayed that I would see him again one day. Oh, I hoped and prayed